The egg is incredible. It is packed with nutrition, contains easily digestible proteins, and they are really cheap. Also, it is one of the few foods that we harvest without actually killing the producer. A Leghorn chicken can lay over 200 pounds of egg in its lifetime. But far too many people insist they hate eggs. I contend that many egg haters really just hate badly cooked eggs. Give me 10 minutes for you to understand the egg chemistry, and you may be able to change their mind. Eggs are more versatile than nearly any other food. We boil them whole, fry them in butter, poach them in water, and add them to meatloaf. It is surprising how many desserts use eggs. Cookies, cakes, pies, even soufflés and bread pudding. But eggs have also gotten a bad reputation. First of all, for years they were told that they were unhealthy. True, there's a small amount of low-density cholesterol, but even the American Heart Association has changed their mind about the effects of cholesterol on health and no longer suggest the limitations on eggs they once did. The second bad rap eggs have gotten is that they taste bad. Eggs can be ugly when over and improperly cooked, but a little understanding of protein can really help. Protein is a lot of amino acids bonded together in spring-like molecules. When stirred, those springs get longer and longer and like rubber. We see that proteins can bind together and make foods stronger. Some foods need this reaction, such as meatloaf. But in most egg dishes, like scrambled or soufflé, these protein chains can make the food flat, tough, and rubbery. When proteins are broken down, it is called denatured. Proteins are denatured in three major ways. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to cook a scrambled egg and how we need to scramble it in a bowl or separate from the actual pan. This simple demonstration with scrambled eggs should show us the remarkable effects on protein that is done by air, fats, and heat. We try to scramble eggs in a separate container from the skillet. Scrambling it straight in a skillet doesn't allow fat or air to be able to break down those proteins, so we end up with scrambled eggs, which are often tough and rubbery. I'm going to scramble these with a fork. I have 2 eggs here. You'll remember there's a membrane between the yolk and the white. We're going to be breaking that and allowing all of the egg to be incorporated with some air. You can see how the yolk and the white is still not completely mixed. I want to make sure that that is homogeneous. I also like a little salt, simply because, as you remember, a little salt at the beginning of the process does wonders compared to how much salt is used at the table. Now, as I beat this, you'll see that it grows slightly because of the air that's being incorporated into the egg. Now, the other thing is we talked about how fats break down protein. So now I'm going to add a bit of cream. About a half a tablespoon in 2 eggs is sufficient. I've seen people use more, but it tends to degrade the product if we have too much. Heat being the third principle of breaking down proteins, we're going to want to allow the egg to get into the heated skillet, not overheated, because the proteins in egg are very tender and short-chained anyway. But we're going to want this in a medium-high heat to begin with, and then as we scramble the egg, you'll notice that I don't continue to stir it. I'm going to allow that air and heat to release those proteins, and will also expand the air that we've incorporated with the fork. Let's take a look. You can see that as we've beat this with the cream and added some air, how easily that runs through the tines of the fork. We have already disrupted a great deal of the protein molecules and are now ready to go ahead and cook. The pan needs to be medium hot, but not over hot, simply because the proteins and fats in an egg are rather tender, and so a medium heat is what's needed. Also, you'll notice that as I put the egg in the pan, I'm not going to immediately start stirring that. We'll watch and see as that puffs up and very gently finish those eggs. Also, some of the heat, that residual heat that's in the eggs, will continue to cook. So depending on how soft or hard you like your scrambled eggs, you'll need to watch that as well. Obviously, I'm going to put a little heat. Excuse me, this is oil. I'm going to put a little oil in. And I'm also going to add some butter because that's a dairy fat and a much better flavor. The spray oil was to season the skillet, and the butter is both for flavor and to continue to cook the product. All right, we're ready to go. And notice how it starts to puff up around the outside edges. We're going to allow that to cook gently, and we will stir it when this has gotten to about a half an inch or so of that scrambled puff that we'll see. It doesn't really take any more time to cook, so be patient. All right, you can see how this is going around and starting to puff on the edges. I'm now going to gently toss this so that the fluid egg goes up underneath the cooked egg. And this is cooked. It's not brown, it's not overcooked, it's fluffy and light. You can see how the volume is already larger than when we put this in. And time to stir it gently again. For a soft scramble, that would be sufficient. I'm going to let it cook just a little bit more because I like mine a little bit. But you can see how fluffy that is, how tender that is, and how remarkable that's going to taste. Thank you for being with us. We enjoyed your time, and would you please subscribe to our channel so we can continue to make more of these kitchen science and common sense shorts.